This is the Tumo Daily Newscast by Ephraim Juma and Becky Ongeri.
Good evening, Kenya.
Good evening, Technical University of Mombasa.
It's December 7th, 2023, Wednesday. Good evening, this is Tumo TV, and you're watching the Tumo Daily Newscast. This is Ephraim Juma.
And I am Becky Ongeri.
Broadcasting live from Technical University of Mombasa. Always ahead, Tumo TV. News with no bias, news with no exception. Delivering nothing but the truth. These are today's headlines.
Dr. Margaret Nyakango is arrested, charged, and released.
President Ruto now says that the economy is on a growth trajectory.
Top government officials are among the suspects to be questioned over the cooking oil scandal.
The National Assembly has been adjourned after MPs stormed out of Parliament.
The Human Rights Society and the Law Society of Kenya moved to court to appeal against the housing levy.
The court has stopped the planned sale of state corporations.
Made in Kenya, Brown's Food has operated in Kenya for 40 years.
The Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, has said that 400 digital lenders are operating illegally in the country.
The American taxpayers are footing the war bill for Israel-Hamas war.
Glenn Otieno has scored a hat-trick for West Pokot County.
And now, welcome back to the full comprehensive bulletin.
Let's begin the news bulletin tonight with the arrest, arraignment, and later release of the Controller of Budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango. Nyakango was picked from a conference in Mombasa by a detective and arraigned in the Mombasa Law Courts to face 4 counts, including fraud, operating a circle without a license, and fraudulent acquisition of monies.
A 2016 incident, which culminated in a court process in 2019, shook the country, with many raising questions over the timing of the arrest in light of the recent strong statements made by the Controller of Budget criticizing government on the misuse of the taxpayers' money.
Exaggerations are in the National Treasury, and let me just give one example. When I was doing the budget for Consolidated Fund Services, this is where my salary is paid from. I found out that my salary was budgeted at 3 times what I'm paid.
And now to some better times look ahead. In the month that begins tomorrow, President William Ruto says that the country is now on the right economic trajectory and that Kenyans should start realizing the benefits of the government's intervention in taming the cost of living from December.
Mambo kama matano hivi nitasema hapa. Sio yale matatu, leo ni matano. Mimi nataka niwatangazie Wakenya ya kwamba sasa tumedhibiti uchumi wa taifa.
The president spoke during the celebrations of the 1-year anniversary of the Hustler Fund in Nairobi. Ruto announced an increase in the Hustler Fund loan limit for Kenyans who have consistently borrowed from the kitty since its inception last year.
The head of state blamed the previous administration for what he termed poor policies that contributed to uncontrolled borrowing and accumulation of public debt.
Now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, estimates that the amount of taxpayers' money that has been embezzled in the edible oil scam could run into 30 billion shillings, and not just the 16.5 billion shillings currently being investigated.
The Senate Committee on Trade and Investment lamented of deliberate frustration by officials, both of the Kenya National Trading Corporation and its parent trade ministry in its quest to prove this scam.
We are investigating to establish what happened, who were involved, how much money was lost, and thereafter we'll look at if there's any criminal offense that took place, and of course we will prepare our files and submit them to the DPP. Financial crimes take time to be established, so we are moving at our own time.
Detectives, both at the DCI and the EACC, are targeting senior government officials believed to have had a hand in the multi-billion shilling plunge.
Let's take you to the National Assembly, where there was a bit of drama, as the National Assembly was adjourned after members of Parliament staged a walkout over an disbursement of constituency development funds.
Efforts by the leader of majority, Kimani Ichung'wah, to assure legislators that Treasury Cabinet Secretary will address the issue on financial day of proceedings to Christmas recess fell on deaf ears as MPs gave him their back, with Deputy Speaker Gladys Sholay being left with no option but to adjourn the session.
In fact, it's an issue that would necessitate this House taking drastic measures. We have not been told yet what is the justification for the National Treasury not releasing the funds which is earmarked for the NGCDF to the NGCDF board. We are not aware.
Honorable Speaker, if members can allow me to finish, because as the Speaker has indicated, this matter is not contested by anybody, not even the leader of majority. That is why I took the liberty even before the matter was raised before the House, because you all forget that I represent the people of Kikuyu.
And human rights groups and the Law Society of Kenya will appeal against the High Court decision that allowed the government to continue deducting the unconstitutional housing tax.
The Kenya Human Rights Commission, Katiba Institute, International Commission of Juries, and the Institute for Social Accountability are the latest entrants in the case set to be filed at the Court of Appeal, a day after Cabinet and Parliament filed a notice of appeal challenging the judgment of the High Court that declared the housing tax unconstitutional.
And it has caused a lot of pain to a lot of salaried employees, some of whom were even paying mortgages for the houses that they are constructing, and so that there was a sense of almost a despair that at long last we had the court pronouncing itself and then taking it away.
The decision of this court ends where it has stopped. After that, we now have to invoke another jurisdiction, which is the Court of Appeal, to deal with our disagreements with the judgment that has just been rendered.
The court has stopped the planned sale of state corporations. The order was issued by a Nairobi High Court following the petition filed by the Orange Democratic Movement Party, which through its advocates argued that the Privatization Act was unconstitutional as it was not subjected to public participation.
Justice Chacher, in his order, stated that a conservatory order is hereby issued suspending the implementation of Section 21, subsection 1 of the Privatization Act 2023 or any decisions made pursuant to the section until 6th February 2024. Section 21, subsection 1 states that the Cabinet Secretary shall identify and determine the entities to be included in the privatization program.
It's going to be a long process that incorporates people's views, and even after that, it has to come to Parliament, it has to be approved by the people's representatives, we have to do public participation, and we have to do it within the law.
The past cheese rarely made it to the plate as part of Kenya's delicacies. but the quest for new tastes and preferences has seen the demand for cheese grow significantly.
This demand has prompted mushrooming of ventures manufacturing cheese for Kenyan consumers. One such venture is Brown's Food.
Main products are the main cheeses, so mozzarellas. If you love pizza, you'll have had our cheese, I'm sure. Cheddars, Goudas, so we make a wide range. We do yogurts as well, natural yogurts. We have a range now of non-dairy products, so those are using our cashews and macadamia and nuts in Kenya to produce alternative dairy products that people who don't want to consume dairy can eat.
Brown's Food grows most of their raw materials needed to make their product, but since the demand is huge, they have partnered with dairy farmers to supply them milk. Most of its milk comes from Embu County.
So all of our produce here on the farm, so whatever you get every time is what nature's given us on the farm.
We will first of all pasteurize the milk. All our cheeses are made from pasteurized milk. We'll now put in the cultures and the rennet, so the rennet helps the milk to coagulate. We'll cut the milk, it will separate into two parts. We have the whey and the curd. So from our milk to the final product, the cheese, the conversion at the very highest goes to about 10%. So that means that 90% of the milk that we receive will be converted into whey, which we don't use internally, so that's a waste product for us. So we get the 10% that remains as curd, we put it in a mold. After, of course, the salting, we put it in a mold, press it, get all the excess moisture out, and then now we have this solid now piece.
On international affairs, it is day 54 of the Israel-Hamas war. More hostages were released, more prisoners were exchanged, families were united, Gazians are breathing a sigh of relief, and aid is entering the Gaza Strip. Things seem calmer at least for now. America has pledged $14.3 billion in aid for Israel, and there is likely to be more, which is hardly surprising. From 1948 to 2023, America has given Israel $124 billion in aid. That's both military and economic assistance. And that's not all. There is also an extra aid like $10 billion for the development for the Iron Dome. So since 2004, Washington has been giving Israel $3 billion every year. This has made life very hard for taxpayers in America as inflation soars through the roof, making essential goods and services expensive for the normal citizens.
All right. Now let's talk sports. And West Pokot County stand Kirinyaga County 4-1 to the quarterfinals of the Talanta Hela Under-19 Cup at the Nyayo National Stadium. Both teams needed a win to advance to the knockout phase. Kirinyaga were quickest off the blocks and were duly rewarded. Dangerman Brian Muribi scoring a penalty from the spot. The lead lasted only 6 minutes as West Pokot equalized through Kiprotich in the 23rd minute. Glenn Otieno gave West Pokot the lead 7 minutes later to get his team a 2-1 lead at halftime. In the second half, Otieno was on the mark again in the 53rd minute as Pokot took a 3-1 lead. Otieno, who was a constant threat for Kirinyaga defense, grabbed his hat-trick with West Pokot. West Pokot finished in Pool C second behind winners Mombasa, while Kirinyaga and Marsabit have been eliminated from the competition.
Well, thank
vijana wadogo ukiwaleta kwa kiwanja kama hii, since it is their first time in Nairobi, most of them they haven't come here before, so inawapatia moral sana wakicheza kwa kiwanja yenye wanaonanga Harambee inacheza ndani, kiwanja yenye Mugabe alikuwa anacheza. So wanasema koche, sisi afadhali mguu ivunjike lakini tufanye nini? Tushinde.
Thank you for staying with us. See you next Wednesday, same time, for another comprehensive bulletin.